The end one.
Jesus Christ.
We do have an arsenal of weapons, machine guns.
I think we have one more, at least.
This one's the one of concern for me. That's definitely semi-automatic. And it's apparently a 3D printed gun. Squeaky bum time. She's like a mini Glock, isn't it?
Acting on a tip-off, firearms officers from West Midlands Police have raided a family home in a suburb of East Birmingham
Got any markings on it?
and detained a 30-year-old man after discovering an arsenal of weapons in his bedroom.
He's effectively giving the explanation that he's just a collector, he's interested in these things. However, his story isn't really making a huge amount of sense. These don't look right, they look like he's played with us.
We just need to figure out what it is.
Officers have concerns over 2 firearms that appear to be homemade and potentially lethal.
This feels plastic as well.
It is, yeah. It could be,
Could have been adapted.
or adapted to be alive and viable, which will need ballistic experts to confirm or negate that.
If we're saying we think that these are 3D printed, he's made some sort of attempt to adapt them, we're going to turn his house over, he will have to come into custody.
Just want to stand up.
The resident of the property, David Biddle Portman, is arrested on suspicion of possessing prohibited weapons.
Happy.
Ballistics examiner Gareth Cooper is dispatched to assess the seized guns.
My work involves the examination of almost every firearms-related incident that occurs in the West Midlands. 3D guns are very much an emerging threat. If an individual can manufacture from scratch a completely untraceable firearm in his own home, and that the police literally have to stumble onto it, is exceptionally worrying for UK law enforcement.
Within the property, a forensic search recovers a total of 6 firearms and ammunition. They also seize multiple digital devices, over 300 component gun parts, and in an upstairs cupboard, find a 3D printer.
Right, these are the weapons that have been recovered.
That looks 3D printed, doesn't it?
The seized firearms are brought to a secure facility for immediate examination.
Quite the arsenal, isn't it, for one person to have?
Oh, yeah.
Gareth is joined by DC Mike Hall, the officer in charge of the case.
So that a sniper rifle from Switzerland.
Okay.
There's nothing to suggest it's been deactivated. That, for me, is a viable Section 1 firearm
Okay.
and needs a certificate to possess. The sniper rifle is of immediate interest because if he doesn't have a licence, there will be offences potentially committed there. He could be planning to sell these guns on.
So these are the two weapons that we believe are the 3D printed ones. This is the first time we've seen a 3D printed firearm. Is it something that you've come across
Nobody's
before,
seen these. Nobody's seen these anywhere in the West Midlands. This is a really unusual find nationally, let alone locally. It's going to take time to analyse and examine these weapons properly. We need to make an assessment exactly how significant the threat is from Biddle Portman.
Yeah, right, Sarge.
What's your name?
It's David.
Have you blasted before, David?
No.
First time?
Yeah. Forklift driver.
Due to the unknown threat posed by the suspect, detectives meet to decide on the investigation's immediate priorities.
A massive arsenal of weapons have been seized, including a sniper rifle, and we believe there are two 3D printed firearms. You've got to ask yourself why these are in this property. So we want to know, is David Biddle Portman linked to firearms, criminality, drug dealing, gun distribution? Is he a weapons supplier? It's as serious as it gets.
Seeing these guns, they do scare me. To have recovered these types of weapon from a wardrobe in a nice residential family address, it is a game changer.
I've got a DD now, so could you just put your drink down for a sec?
In order to establish a forensic link between David and the firearms,
Come across the leaves first.
his DNA and fingerprints are taken to be compared with the weapons seized at the scene.
We've run David's name through the databases we have, and he has no previous convictions. So right now, we need to establish whether he is a collector, or are we looking at somebody with extremist views? Is David making firearms? Have these guns been fired before? We simply do not know.
Before the suspect is interviewed, the two firearms which police believe to be homemade are forensically examined by Gareth.
This 3D printed weapon is based on the AR-15 American assault rifle. It's partially 3D printed, so this lower section is made of plastic. The upper section here is made of alloy. This is a semi-automatic gun, but this is an unconventional design, and I can already see that the bolt is also 3D printed. These guns have been frequently featured in mass shootings over in America. Because they're a military weapon, they're capable of inflicting severe injuries across a number of casualties in a very short space of time.
Next, the second firearm is assessed.
Most of the gun we can see is 3D printed, virtually all of it. Moulded into the side of the lower receiver are the letters FGC9. FGC stands for Fuck Gun Control. These people are online anarchists ideologically opposed to gun control. The reason they published the gun details online was specifically to bring the opportunity for firearms possession to the whole world. You don't need any specialised components, so anybody, in theory, can manufacture this without arousing any suspicion and without the knowledge of the authorities. In the wrong hands, that could be an extremely dangerous weapon. They are obviously 3D printed weapons. However, we don't know whether they're viable at this stage. If they work, then they would be illegal to possess anywhere in the UK. The officers are going to be looking for evidence that incriminates this individual in the act of actually making a firearm from scratch. That's what they need to prove.
Okay, so everything we're now saying is being audio recorded. You're facing quite a serious allegation, so we need to get your side of the story. Okay.
We found a number of firearms in the wardrobe. Tell me about those firearms.
No comment.
Okay, why would somebody be hiding multiple firearms in the bedroom where you sleep with your partner and your daughter?
No comment.
Have you ordered those over the internet?
No comment.
Have you been involved in the manufacture or conversion of those items?
No comment.
You've got an arsenal of weapons. That makes you look like you're a very, very bad individual. Are you that type of person?
No comment.
With David refusing to answer questions,
He's effectively giving the explanation that he's just a collector, he's interested in these things.
detectives review body cam footage where he made significant comments during his arrest.
House is like a normal family home, doesn't it? A balloon in the corner there.
What was your offence there,
Possession of a Section 5 firearm.
I know that Section 5 is like it's the worst one. Yes.
Is he asking because he doesn't know, or is he asking just for clarity?
It's certainly interesting as to that's the wording that he's picked out from. Does it indicate that he's got a knowledge of the firearms legislation?
It's just quite calm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite calm considering what's going on.
If David is a firearms dealer, I need to find any link to any organised crime groups. For me, he's an unknown risk. I wouldn't know what somebody like him would be capable of doing.
The National Ballistics Intelligence Service holds a record of every firearm in the UK that has been linked to a crime. But initial checks are unable to find a connection to any previous firearm offences.
Our dilemma here is that because these guns are homemade, 3D printed, they're untraceable. There's no serial numbers, there's no markings on them. They're commonly known as ghost guns. If you can make these in your own home and be under the radar, then you can produce these firearms and sell them.
With no way of linking the 3D firearms to any previous crimes.
Yeah, if you want to stick it on there, Mikey, and we'll
Cheers, mate.
take a look. We don't see these every day. No.
Mike tasks Digital Forensics Officer Wayne Johnson with examining the 3D printer seized from the suspect's house.
So up here is the plastic filament, and we're going to feed that through. So I need to open up this clamp and feed it past these cogs. So this plastic will feed through into the nozzle that gets really hot, and then it will start depositing that plastic onto this plate. And then it's going to start layering up different levels of that plastic to eventually create the model. So the plate and nozzle move quite quick, but it's got to do hundreds and hundreds of layers to build up one object. So for us to get this 3D printer to make a model, someone needs to load that file from their computer to give it those instructions to print that object. I can give you an example here.
OK.
This is part of a bionic hand. So what we can see here is how the model is going to be built layer upon layer upon layer. In this case, there's over 400 layers. To build a whole gun, I think it's going to take hours and hours, if not days.
What I'll need to show for the courts is what files have come through this particular printer, if it's possible.
This printer doesn't actually store any sort of history about what's been printed. What I'll do, I'll go through all the items that you've seized, so the computers, the memory cards, and see if I can find any evidence that links the suspect to manufacturing guns on this printer. What I'm hoping to find on his other devices is files that he maybe downloaded that contains those instructions for that 3D printer. It does take some skill to do and research, and it often falls to the devices that we recover to actually give us the full story, the full picture of what actually happened.
Do you know what that is? That was found in the cupboards at the top of the stairs, and it's a 3D printer. Is that yours?
No comment.
We believe that has been used to make the assault rifle.
Someone provided it to you and asked you to manufacture firearms for them.
No comment.
Firearms that are deadly.
Are they deadly? You kind of raised your eyebrow to that. Do you have a different opinion to us?
No comment.
If it's a hobby, or you're just one of these geeky guys who loves firearms and thinks to themselves, yeah, maybe I can make one of these, then tell us about it. Help the police with the inquiry, because if they are viable, you're going to end up in a world of hurt, aren't you? We'll look right into your life. You know this now. Seriously, right deep into your life. Okay, interview concluded.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the media that we've extracted from the phone.
Wayne starts trawling through the digital devices seized from the suspect to find any evidence of firearms manufacturing.
And we're looking at sort of just over 60,000 images and videos. See, a person's phone is almost like an unofficial diary. It's constantly logging what you're doing on the internet, where you are, what photos you took, and it's logging all this, often without your knowledge. These days, no one really deletes anything off their device. They've got plenty of storage, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's stuff that we rely on to recover, to find out what someone's been doing. He does look like your average sort of family man, a loving dad. And we can see a nice video here. Appears with a suspect. It looks like he's into motorbikes and quads. You often see maybe what their interests are, what hobbies they do. It's really helpful if I can sort of learn what their life might be like. But also, sometimes you can see two sides to that person. Paintball, you can see them here running around a forest, hiding behind obstacles, and it's where you can get to play war, essentially. They have those bits that they're happy to portray to friends and family, And then there's this darker side, stuff that's being hidden, maybe because they're involved in crime.
After finding no evidence of a link to any illegal firearms, Wayne uses advanced software to search the phone for deleted data.
I'm not seeing anything to do with social media, no real emails. It's quite unusual these days. So I can see now that on his mobile phone, he is actually making some attempts to hide his activity. There's an interesting one here I don't see too often, an app called Keybase. These type of apps allow you to talk to other people or set up groups and communicate securely. Interestingly, the user has changed it on this particular phone to delete every chat within 60 seconds. This app allows users to chat to other people, but the whole chat is hidden. This does raise suspicion why somebody might need that on their device. It's not normal unless somebody's trying to hide something. So it's really important to try and get into the app to see exactly what are they talking about, what is it they're hiding.
West Midlands Police are no closer to establishing where the David Biddle Portman is manufacturing weapons. A meeting is called with Tony Gallagher from the National Ballistics Intelligence Service to create a forensic strategy for the guns.
So one of the reasons why we called the meeting is for all of us to understand what we can do to attain the best evidence around, obviously something I think most of us on this side of the table are learning about.
All your fingerprints and DNA is from the outside parts.
Yep.
That doesn't say he assembled it.
Okay.
So to do the inside parts, you're going to have to take it apart under DNA conditions. DNA and fingerprinting the internal parts before you start test firing. You would expect his DNA imprints to be on the alternative parts if he has assembled it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem with taking it apart,
Yep.
it might not go back together to classify it as a firearm. At some stage, we're going to have to put a round in it, a live round. That may destroy it. That's your dilemma from our perspective.
The functionality of the gun fundamentally affects the nature of the charges that the police will lay. If they can't prove that it works, then it may end up being nothing more than an imitation firearm. There may not even be any offences. So it is critical that we understand whether it works, and that has to be done in a hands-on way.
I think it makes perfect sense to dismantle the gun, to then do the fingerprints, put the gun back together, to then obviously consider the test firing if that's possible.
The 3D firearms are sent to the University of Warwick's Digital Imaging Department for a high-resolution CT scan.
Okay, ready? I suggest we use the test scan and we load it in and see what we can see before we do a full 3D reconstruction.
The CT scans are incredibly useful to us because they give us an opportunity to see what the inner workings of the gun is like before we try and take it apart.
See, that's the trigger there. I'll push it back a bit more so that we can see a bit more. See a lot of it there.
The scan can reveal how much of the gun is plastic and whether any metal components have been used to reinforce it.
Once the magazine gets loaded in here, can we drop it down a bit?
Yeah.
3D printed guns are not conventionally constructed. Additionally, they're not made of necessarily the strongest of materials. There is a risk when you take one apart and try and reassemble it, you may damage some of those components. If it doesn't go back together as it came apart, then it can't be test fired and we may never be able to demonstrate beyond doubt that it was ever a viable weapon.
What you're looking at here is the results from the CT scans that we carried out on the weapons. We were very surprised that when you look inside his weapons, how sophisticated they really are.
Gareth consults 3D printing expert Professor Mark Williams on which firearm is robust enough to withstand being dismantled and then test-fired.
What we're going to do first is rotate the gun, and then we're going to strip away all the plastic components and leave the metal components behind.
That's perfect for our purposes.
Only the parts of the gun with a greater density than plastic are revealed.
So on the top here, you've got the AR-15, and there's a lot of metal in that. I can already see the hammer and trigger mechanism are exactly as I'd expect to see in a real AR-15. They're clearly made of metal. The relative density and darkness in the image shows us that. The purpose of including metal components in this is to increase the longevity. The whole thing cannot be made of plastic.
Right, so there are essential parts that have to be metal to make it a viable
There are
weapon.
3D printed guns that contain virtually no metal, but they disintegrate very, very quickly, usually the first time you fire them. The weapons that the officers have recovered in this case are hybrid weapons, which means that part of their componentry is 3D printed, but of course you need internal metal components to handle the pressure on discharge.
Next, Gareth examines the construction of the FGC-9.
What I can see, Mark, is a lot of screws holding these components together. What I don't want to be doing is having to disassemble and reassemble a lot of machine screws that are potentially going to strip, work their way loose, come out. There are so many screws in the FGC-9, I really don't want to be taking those out. The AR-15 looks to be the simpler one to disassemble. This is the gun that I'm going to be taking apart. I don't want to break the gun and destroy any evidence if I can possibly avoid that. It may break nonetheless, but I want to know that I've done everything I can do to avoid that happening.
I'm now looking through Keybase that allows the user to encrypt and essentially hide chats.
In digital forensics, Wayne has used specialist software to recover deleted images from the encrypted app found on the suspect's phone.
What I have recovered is a lot of the media that's been exchanged, and the vast majority appears to relate to firearms. They're really zoomed in images on different parts. I can see a particular image here that's been annotated by a sad face. It looks like maybe it's been manufactured wrong or something's broken on there. So to me, they almost look like guides. It probably is relevant that they are being hidden in this chat and then being forensically wiped.
Why is David using this level of encryption? It may be that he's utilising this app to hide his tracks. Does David have accomplices? Does he have other people who he's selling to online? Kelly, would you see if there's anything that sticks out to you?
Yeah.
With the new information that David may be communicating with others, detectives have been sent a forensic analysis of his financial records to check if he is buying or selling firearms.
First, if we just have a look at the incoming, the 1488 large green one is his main job, his main source of employment. It does appear a relatively stable income every single month coming in.
Nothing that's really odd.
There's nothing really like huge four-figure sums that you'd expect, you know, a firearm to be traded for on the black market. The outgoing, we can see where his money goes. 907, Coinbase.
So what's that?
It's around cryptocurrency.
Okay.
So not only do we have 907, there's a further 500.
That's the majority of his incoming, isn't it?
I mean, if you're earning that much money going towards Coinbase, that raises a few concerns for me. Large cryptocurrency payments are suspicious to me. With their levels of encryption, it is frustrating because it's harder to chase than a regular bank account. So for me, I'm reliant on forensics. It's crucial to establish fingerprints on the weapons to support the fact that he's manufactured these firearms.
I brought some tools over.
Yeah,
so we can get those cleaned down.
Now the decision has been made to dismantle the AR-15 printed firearm, Gareth can attempt to take it apart to search for fingerprints on the internal components.
When we go into the lab with the box, we obviously don't know how many parts it's going to be in.
What I'm hoping is, if I remove a couple of pins here, it should separate the upper and lower halves.
Oh, right, OK.
And then if I can get the front handguard off it, it should expose the barrel. And there might be residual prints and DNA.
The firearm must be dismantled in sterile conditions to avoid contamination.
If the suspect's fingerprint is found anywhere on the internal componentry of the weapon, that would be a strong indication he was involved in its construction. I imagine the police will be very keen to ask him how they got there.
In the fingerprint development lab, technician Kat Harold receives the individual parts of the 3D gun.
The components have all been took apart, so there might be some exposed surface areas. So I've got no value ridge detail just there.
We don't know when we recover an item whether it has fingerprints on, because you can't see them with the naked eye, and it's not until we use our different processes that it develops the fingerprints. By using different wavelengths of light, it gives you more of a contrast between the background and the fingerprint, which enables it to be viewed better and photographed more easily.
There's not enough characteristics in there at the moment to mark it up for photography.
Initial examination under different light sources shows no fingerprint ridge detail on the plastic components.
Plastic as a medium for retaining fingerprints isn't great. It's quite a rough surface. A fingerprint is very fragile. And they're that small that something that may be slightly rough can interfere with the characteristics of a fingerprint.
Next, Kat loads the gun barrel and other metal components which have a smoother surface into a superglue cabinet.
The glue is placed in a metal foil container here, and this heats the glue up, which then evaporates. When you sweat on your hands, part of the sweat component is chloride ions, and that is what the super glue attaches to, leaving a white residue.
It takes just 40 minutes to process the sample.
So there are a few ridges at the top of this component. It's just there by the up. It has been enhanced slightly further with the super glue.
There is one last opportunity to enhance the ridge detail further, using a green fluorescent powder.
So now I'm just going to powder each component. And because the item is black as well, it'll provide a good contrast. Oh, okay. I have found some more friction ridge detail. So it's just on the side surface there. Just this part here. You can see that it is like part of a fingerprint, but there's not enough information for the Bureau to do an identification from that.
Okay, do you want the last one?
Without DNA and fingerprints on the internal components, there is a threat of him getting bail.
Okay, so your buzzer is...
He could be capable of some atrocity. I cannot simply take that risk.
With the possibility that the suspect could be bailed, DC Hall meets Gareth for an urgent review of the case.
I've not got communications with others, regarding firearms.
But if David had been producing firearms in his bedroom,
his scale bears no end for me. He could just keep going as, if he hadn't been arrested when he did, just could have kept going and going and going.
We don't know what was in his mind. We don't know what his motivations are. In terms of how much planning was needed, it speaks to a significant level of investment in time and energy.
Licensing checks have come back for the other guns found in his property.
So that sniper rifle, that for me is a viable Section 1 firearm.
the suspect should have a certificate. There is no certificate listed to the address or to David himself.
Okay.
David doesn't have a license for the rifle or the silencer, so we can charge him with those, which will then afford us that crucial time to complete further forensics.
The potential for harm that he represents is at the other end of the scale, isn't it?
Agreed.
It's not great news for you, mate. Charges are as follows. Possession of a firearm without a certificate. And secondly, possession of a sound modifier, a silencer.
So it's just for one?
The bolt action rifle and the sound modifier.
Sound, okay. I was just wondering.
Pardon?
Yeah, I don't know how this works. So I think now that I've been charged, can they bring additional charges later on, or no, they can't?
David Biddle Portman is now remanded in custody on charges of possession, giving Wayne time to hunt for evidence of the more serious offence of manufacturing.
The suspect has given no passwords for any of the devices. If we can't get into these laptops, then we're not going to be able to capture any evidence, potentially of him printing these gun components on his printer.
Before any data can be retrieved, the hard drive must first be made secure.
Okay, so now I'm going to connect this to a write blocker. This means that no data is going to get changed on this drive. We're just going to read the data from it. What we don't want is this connecting to some kind of network. It might be the suspect has set a command to wipe all the data from this drive. So removing it this way and connected to a write blocker, we're going to prevent any of that happening. There's no encryption on here or anything else that's preventing me getting to the data. I can see for this particular exhibit, I've got over 800,000 sort of artifacts that it's recovered. It's logging everything you do, and it's going to sort all those out for me. Whenever you use a digital device, it will leave some kind of trail behind. Is there anything related to firearms, the manufacture of guns? How were they printed? What research might be needed to produce those?
If Wayne can't find any incriminating link to the 3D printer, detectives will have insufficient evidence to charge David with manufacturing firearms.
So I'm just going to filter now and look at what documents we've got on here. Okay, that's interesting. So there's a good few hundred PDF documents. They're pretty much all related to 3D printing firearms. Ah, perfect. There we have it, a FGC9. Instructions on how to assemble it. This shows a guide how to actually make the gun that was found at the suspect's address. Oh, actually, there's quite a few of these images, all for this gun. Seem to span quite a few years, actually. I've got some that started off around December 2017, all the way up until pretty much when these devices were seized by officers. Over that 5-year period, it appears that his knowledge is getting better and better on how to manufacture a firearm. I can see the various different manuals sort of changing over time. They're becoming more specific. This suggests to me that it's not just a passing interest.
Although hundreds of downloaded manuals have been recovered, the investigation is still missing conclusive evidence that proves David used the 3D printer to make the guns. In order to confirm that the AR-15 firearm is viable, Gareth must successfully reassemble it to be test-fired.
First things first, I'm going to try and reassemble the upper. This bolt group's unconventional. It's not one that's designed originally as part of the weapon.
If we can't put this weapon back together and then subsequently fire it, we won't be able to prove that it is a lethal, deadly weapon. And David may avoid prosecution.
So this is the front locating pin going into place. The parts aren't exactly perfectly cut, so there are issues with alignment. 3 of them down the one side, and they just clamp the 2 sides of the handguard together around the barrel nut, holding it in place. The level of construction is reasonably good. It is going together. Final locking pin goes in, and in theory, the weapon is functional. It's possible to see the bolt body moving in conjunction with the charging handle, and that all looks to be operating fine. You do begin to understand this individual is a sophisticated constructor. There is, without question, hundreds and hundreds of hours of research, effort, and development evidenced in what we can see. There is a chance that these guns just don't work, but he is clearly doing what he's doing, in my opinion, with the firm intention of making them work.
In digital forensics, Wayne is searching for evidence amongst nearly 800,000 files on the suspect's laptop to determine whether he used a 3D printer to make firearms.
So for this, what I do want to do is look for if there's any STL files, the 3D printer file type, because I know these are needed for the 3D printing process. So I'm just going to apply that filter now.
He runs specialist AI software to analyse the laptop's hidden system files.
There is a file format used for the creation of 3D images, and they're called STL files. If I can link these STL files to the suspect's printer, I might be able to show that he is printing these gun parts. Ah, okay. Straight away, I've got over 3,000 results. That's really, really interesting. I wasn't expecting that many. Having a quick look at some of the titles, I can see references to firearm components. So I can see a handguard, a holster, barrel chamber. This is sort of a different level, really. This is perhaps somebody who's constantly making these files. So I'm really interested to see now what they're actually doing with them. Are they actually then printing these? My next step is to export those files and actually see what they contain. Because when you create them, you have to say what printer you want to create them for.
Wayne can now check if these files are compatible with the same 3D printer found in David Biddle Portman's house.
So here I've opened up an STL file created specifically for his printer. And this particular one appears to be a FGC9 upper receiver, which is, a component part of a gun. So in this case, there's 259 layers, and we can actually see those layer by layer if we want to. You can't really get better evidence. That shows to me that he is preparing these files for printing. I've got no real doubt in my mind that this person is printing off those particular components using this printer.
The final step of proving that the homemade AR-15 is a lethal firearm will now take place at the National Ballistics Intelligence Service.
Are you ready?
To be classified as a viable firearm, the weapon must be capable of firing a live round. But that may not be straightforward.
The problem we have with these firearms is they are, in essence, homemade. So therefore, none of the industry standards apply. Now, for me, that's a danger. We don't know what's going to happen when we load it with a live round. Loading onto the breech. So we're going to have to take it stage by stage and start off with no propellant and no projectile. Firing! Unloading! Looks intact, Matthew.
Yep, looks intact.
Now they've established that the gun is functional.
Need a road.
Okay.
Tony attempts to fire a blank cartridge to check the gun can withstand an increase in chamber pressure.
Okay, loading. Firing. So we know that it's actually capable of discharging a cartridge. We're going to do a live round on it now. So the crunch point is firing the first live round. I cannot see the plastic mechanism of these firearms withstanding the chamber pressures that are going to be generated with live ammunition. To ensure that the bullet goes down the barrel, the force behind it has to be equal to the force that's been pushed back on it. So if it's not locked in, then everything comes back and it blows up in your face.
For the final test,
right, we'll do the soap.
Tony will use ballistic soap to measure the lethal force of the gun.
Now, the ballistic soap is designed to replicate skin and muscle tissue. Okay, loading with one modified live round. Firing! How far in have we gone?
Possibly halfway.
Halfway, wow. I'll go with there. Depth.
That is a depth of 15 centimetres.
Wow.
6 inches. That's a lot deeper than I was expecting it to go. That's lethal. That's a dead man.
DC Hall speaking, how can I help?
Mike, an update on the 3D guns. We fired it using an improvised projectile, and it functioned. And what we found was that penetrated ballistic soap to a depth of 15 centimetres.
Okay.
So that's quite a depth. And it would be our opinion. It's a viable prohibited weapon.
Excellent. Music to my ears.
No problem, Beck. Thank you.
Before finalising what charges to seek from the Crown Prosecution Service, DC Hall gets an update on all the digital forensic evidence.
Certainly can say that the use of those devices is downloading component parts for guns.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, this is a part I started to print on the printer.
Oh, wow, okay.
So this is the, what we call the lower receiver of the FGC9.
Yep.
So if I show you that picture there of one of the exhibits that you seized. We can see this part here is across there.
Can you say to me that he's sent a command to the printer to be able to print out these materials?
The file's been downloaded, and I can see that he has created these files for that particular printer.
The printer's in working order, and there's the actual build. No, that's fantastic for us, evidentially, and it's what I'd be looking for to try and secure this conviction.
West Midlands Police have gathered enough evidence to charge David with manufacturing prohibited firearms, instead of the lesser charge of possessing a silencer and firearm without licence.
The Crown Prosecution Service authorised 2 charges for you, OK? You will be down to court tomorrow morning.
It's hard to know which way a jury will go. But I believe in court, David will find it difficult to deny that he built these guns and that he had no knowledge they were capable of being lethal.
Hello, Ballistics. Gareth Cooper speaking. Can I help?
Good morning, it's DC Hall here.
Hello, Mike.
If you sat down, a guilty plea has been entered.
Guilty plea, OK.
The charges are for manufacture of a prohibited weapon. Entered a guilty plea on 2 counts. I want to congratulate you and thank you for the work that you've helped me out with through this investigation.
No, you're most welcome. It's what we do.
And I'll keep you posted with anything further, all right?
Take care, Mike. Bye-bye. Bye.
The work completed by our forensic services here at West Midlands Police, put before the Crown Prosecution Service, I believe prompted David into a corner to plead guilty as he had nowhere else to turn. We still don't know why he's manufactured these weapons, what's motivated him. But the law is very clear. You cannot 3D print your own firearm at home. Now, if you embark on this journey that David's embarked on to build a viable, deadly weapon, we will find you eventually.
The viability of these guns demonstrates that David Biddle Portman is capable of building functional firearms. Certainly there is the potential for the guns that he has made to cause harm, whether he intended it or not. These are next generation. And in terms of the future of improvised weaponry, I think we're looking at it.
A Place of Beauty, a vital asset in war, a brand new documentary filmed by Ukrainian soldiers. Ukraine, Enemy in the Woods, here tomorrow at 9.